Chapter 7. No rules, just repetition. By now, he had given up the old way. No more grammar books. No more sitting at a desk trying to understand why the past perfect is used in one sentence and not the other. He no longer cared about getting the rules right. What he cared about now was rhythm, repetition, real words, real feelings, real use. Every morning, he shadowed a video. Every evening, he talked to himself in the mirror. And in between, he repeated sentences in his head. On the street, in the kitchen, while walking to the shop. It wasn't studying. It was living with English. He didn't say, "I must remember this grammar point." He said, "I'll just say it again." The same line, 5 times, 10 times. "What time is it? How was your day? Can I help you?" These became his daily food, not theory, just practical speech. He repeated because it felt natural, because it felt good, and slowly, the fear disappeared. The hesitation faded. He no longer worried about being correct. He only cared about being clear, being confident, being heard. He remembered a time when he had tried to learn conditionals. "If I had known, I would have gone." And he felt lost. But now, he didn't learn the rule. He just remembered a sentence from a story. "If I had seen her, I would have stopped her." He didn't analyze it. He just repeated it. Again and again. Until one day, he used it in real life. And it felt right. It came out like breathing. He learned a new word. He used it 10 times that day. He heard a new phrase. He spoke it into the mirror. He didn't care if it sounded strange. He didn't care if someone laughed. Because now, he had discovered the real trick. Fluency isn't about knowing more. It's about using what you already know, again and again. One day, a friend asked, "How did you improve so fast?" He smiled and replied, "I didn't study. I just repeated." That answer confused many people, but for him, it was the truth. Repetition changed his life. It made English automatic, like a song stuck in your head, like a rhythm you can't forget. And it didn't take years. It just took consistency, small actions, every day. And most of all, it took courage. The courage to let go of perfection, to be okay with mistakes, to love the process, not just the progress. Because when you stop trying to be perfect, you start becoming fluent. For viewers, this chapter is both a relief and a revelation. They've been carrying the heavy weight of grammar for too long, but now they hear, you don't need to understand everything. You just need to say it, again and again. The emotional spike happens when the learner says, "My fluency didn't come from rules, it came from rhythm." That line stays in their mind. It becomes a mantra. Chapter 8. Real English in Real Life. He never imagined that buying bananas could feel like a victory. But that morning, standing in front of the fruit seller, he smiled and said, "How much for these?" The words came without fear. Simple, director, natural. The seller answered, and he understood. Not every word, but enough. He paid, said thank you, and walked away with a bag of fruit and a heart full of pride. Because for the first time, he had used English in the real world, not in a classroom, not in his mirror, in life, and it worked. That small conversation gave him something grammar books never did: confidence. He wasn't fluent like a native speaker. He wasn't perfect, but he didn't need to be. He had crossed the line between learner and speaker. He had entered a new world, the world of real English. From that day on, he looked for small chances to use English. Ordering tea, asking for directions, saying good morning to a foreign visitor. These tiny moments became gold. They built him up, one sentence at a time. And something else changed too. He stopped being afraid of people. Before, he worried, what if they laugh at my English? What if I make a mistake? But now he knew, people don't care about perfect grammar. They care about connection. They smile when you try. They help when you're stuck. The world became his classroom. The city became his teacher. One day, he met a tourist looking for a hotel. The man asked, "Do you speak English?" For a second, the old fear returned, but then he nodded and said, "A little. I can help." And he did. He explained directions using simple words, gestures, and confidence. The tourist thanked him. And that one sentence, "I can help," echoed in his mind all night. Because it wasn't just a sentence. It was proof. He had grown. He started carrying a small notebook. But not for studying. It was for real-life English. Words he used, sentences he heard, things he wanted to say. He would note them down and shadow them later. Not because he had to, but because it felt real, alive. His English was no longer something he practiced. It was something he lived. This chapter deeply touches the viewer's dreams. They want this too. To speak to someone, to ask for help, to travel without fear. And now, they believe it's possible. They realize they don't need to move to an English-speaking country to practice. They can start where they are, at a market, in a shop, at a bus stop. The spike moment arrives when the learner says, "I used English to help someone, and it made me feel proud." That's what every learner wants, not just to speak, but to feel good while speaking. Chapter 9. You don't need to study. You need to speak. He looked back at his journey, the grammar books, the vocabulary lists, the hours spent translating every word in his mind. And then he looked at where he was now, speaking in real situations, shadowing with joy, thinking in English without even trying. And he realized the truth, the final truth that changed everything. Fluency doesn't come from studying. It comes from speaking. He had wasted years trying to be perfect. He used to think, "I'll speak when I'm ready." But now he understood. Speaking makes you ready. The more you speak, the more your brain opens up. The more your mouth gets used to the rhythm, the more natural it feels. He remembered the fear he used to feel, the pressure, the shame. All of it melted away the moment he stopped focusing on being correct and started focusing on being clear. Now, English was no longer a subject. It was a tool, a friend, a bridge. He used it every day, not just to learn, but to live. And here's what shocked him most. He was speaking better now, without studying. than he ever did when he was stuck in grammar rules. Why? Because speaking is practice. And practice makes fluency. Not theory, not perfection. Just daily, emotional, fearless use. He no longer said, "I'm learning English." He said, "I speak English." Even if it wasn't perfect, even if it was simple, because the words were real, alive, his. He wanted every learner watching this to understand what took him years to discover. You don't need to study more. You need to speak more. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be present. You don't need to remember rules. You need to repeat real sentences. Fluency is not in the book. It's in your voice. Use it. He ended the journey with a challenge. Not a grammar test. Not a vocabulary quiz. A speaking challenge. Talk to yourself for 5 minutes a day. Mirror talk, shadowing, doesn't matter. Just speak. Every day. For 7 days. And see what happens. That was the trick. That was the method. That was the truth that finally made him free. The emotional peak here is powerful. The viewer feels it. They've been stuck too long, studying too long. Now they understand. It's time to speak. Not tomorrow. Not when they feel ready. Now, thank you for watching. If this video helped you, if it gave you even one moment of hope, then it's time to act. Don't go back to memorizing rules. Instead, pick one sentence and say it out loud right now. Subscribe to this channel because we don't just study English, we speak it. Like this video and comment below. Will you take the 7-day speaking challenge? Let's change the way we learn English together.